Commander Zaxtor stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Council's flagship, his 4 eyes fixed on the holographic display before him. The image showed a grainy recording of a shadow moving through the ruins of Colony Station Beta 7, but it was enough to send chills down all 3 of his spinal columns. Impossible, General Kvax muttered beside him, mandibles clicking in agitation. We eliminated the last human outpost decades ago. Zaxtor's outer membrane rippled with concern as he enhanced the footage. The figure moved with a fluid grace that no other species could replicate. The evidence is undeniable, General. We have a survivor. The council chamber erupted in dismissive chatter. Humans have been considered extinct for over 50 years, their civilization reduced to cautionary tales about the dangers of underestimating primitive species. But Zaxtor remembered the stories his mentor had told him, stories of how a single human garrison had once held off an entire Drachnid invasion force using nothing but improvised weapons and tactical ingenuity. Even if it is a human, Admiral Alara interjected, her crystalline form glinting under the chamber's lights, one primitive creature poses no threat to our alliance. Zaxtor manipulated the hologram, showing the string of mysterious equipment failures and unexplained accidents that had plagued their outer colonies. This primitive creature has already infiltrated 12 of our secure facilities. Each infiltration was preceded by these energy signatures. The room fell silent as the data scrolled across their neural interfaces. Supply ships vanishing. Communication relays failing at crucial moments. Strategic defense platforms going dark without explanation. The human's name is James Winter, Zaxtor continued, pulling up another hologram. Former Earth Special Forces. He was believed killed during the fall of New Terra, but intelligence suggests he's been active in the outer colonies for years, gathering information, studying our weaknesses. How did we miss this? Kvax demanded, his armored plates clicking together in agitation. Because we wanted to miss it, Zaxtor replied grimly. We convinced ourselves humans were simply clever animals. We forgot why our ancestors considered them so dangerous. The hologram shifted to show a series of destroyed military installations. Each attack had been precisely calculated, using minimal resources for maximum effect. No wasted motion, no unnecessary destruction. Just surgical strikes that crippled key defensive capabilities. Winter isn't just surviving, Zaxtor explained. He's waging a one-man war against our entire alliance. And he's winning. Admiral Alara's crystalline structure darkened with concern. What are you suggesting, Commander? I suggest we remember what happened the last time we underestimated humanity. This isn't just about hunting down one survivor. This is about understanding why humans were considered so dangerous in the first place. Zaxtor brought up his final piece of evidence, a message that had been found carved into the wreckage of their latest destroyed facility. You should have made sure you got all of us. The council chamber erupted in urgent discussions, but Zaxtor kept his focus on the holographic image of James Winter. The human's eyes seemed to stare back at him with an unsettling intensity, even through the grainy footage. I'm assembling a task force, Zaxtor announced. Not to hunt him, we've seen how well that works. We need to understand him. Learn why he's here, what he's planning. You're giving this too much importance, Kvax protested. One human cannot dash. One human, Zaxtor interrupted, has already done more damage than entire armies. We need to stop thinking of Winter as a survivor and start seeing him for what he really is, a weapon with a purpose. And until we understand that purpose, none of our worlds are safe. As the council debated, Zaxtor studied the pattern of Winter's attacks. Each one seemed random at first glance, but he was beginning to see something deeper, a methodology that suggested these weren't just attacks of opportunity. Winter was following a plan, moving pieces into position for something bigger. The question was, what could one human hope to achieve against an entire galactic alliance? The answer, Zaxtor suspected, would either save them all or doom them completely. The massive security doors of Outpost Theta 9 sealed behind Zaxthor as he entered the command center. Holographic displays flickered to life around him, each showing a different sector of space where Winter's presence had been detected. "Sir, we've compiled the analysis you requested," Lieutenant Rixay reported, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with excitement. "The human's movement patterns are disturbing." Zaxthor studied the data streams. Each attack point, when mapped across galactic sectors, formed an intricate web of interconnected locations. "He's not just attacking randomly. He's mapping our defense network." "That's not all," Rixay continued, bringing up a new series of holograms. "We've detected traces of quantum entanglement signatures at each site. Winter isn't just destroying our facilities, he's gathering data. Massive amounts of it." The revelation hit Zaxthor like a plasma burst. Winter wasn't fighting a war of attrition, he was conducting reconnaissance on an unprecedented scale. But for what purpose? A sudden alert pierced the command center's quiet hum. "Commander," one of the sensor operators called out. "We're detecting an energy signature matching Winter's technology. It's coming from inside this facility." Zaxthor's outer membrane rippled with alarm. "Lock down all sectors. Initialize dash." The lights went out before he could finish. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing the command center in a dim red glow. But Zaxthor knew it was already too late. "Hello, Commander," a calm voice echoed through the darkness. "I was wondering when you'd figure it out." The voice was smooth, controlled, distinctly human. "Winter. You've been watching us," Zaxthor said, his voice steady despite the situation. "All these attacks, they were just a distraction." A quiet chuckle resonated through the chamber. "Not quite. Let's call them research. Your species are fascinating, you know. So advanced in some ways, so blind in others. What do you want, Winter?" "Want?" The human's voice carried a hint of amusement. "I want what any survivor wants, to ensure the survival of my species. But right now, I want to show you something." The holographic displays suddenly blazed to life, but instead of showing military data, they displayed something far more troubling: detailed schematics of the Alliance's most classified weapons systems, defense protocols, and strategic plans. "Impossible," Rixay whispered. "These are stored in isolated networks. No one could dash." "Your isolation protocols are based on quantum encryption," Winter interrupted. "Impressive technology. But humans? We learned to think around problems like that long ago. While you were hunting me across the galaxy, I was learning everything about you. Your strengths. Your weaknesses. Your fears." Zaxthor studied the displays, his tactical mind racing. "These attacks, you wanted us to chase you. To commit resources, gather our forces. Very good, Commander. You're starting to think like a human. Sometimes the best way to understand your enemy is to make them show you everything they're capable of." The lights flickered back to life, but Winter was nowhere to be seen. Instead, another message appeared on the main display: Phase 1 complete. "Let's see how you handle Phase 2. "Sir," Rixay called out, her voice shaking. "The data, he didn't just steal it. He modified it. Changed key strategic elements. Our entire defense network has been compromised," Zaxthor finished. "But that's not what worries me. Winter could have crippled our defenses completely, but he didn't. He's playing a longer game." The command center buzzed with frantic activity as teams tried to assess the damage, but Zaxthor stood still, his mind racing. Winter hadn't just demonstrated his ability to penetrate their most secure facilities, he'd shown them that everything they thought they knew about human capabilities was wrong. "Lieutenant," Zaxthor called out. "Access the historical archives. I want everything we have on human tactical doctrine, especially their asymmetric warfare strategies." "Sir." Winter isn't just fighting us, he's teaching us something. And I have a feeling that if we don't learn fast enough, the next lesson will be our last. As the facility's systems gradually returned to normal, Zaxtor couldn't shake the feeling that they were all missing something obvious. Winter had revealed his presence deliberately, shown them his capabilities, but why? The answer came to him just as another alert sounded, this time from the outer colonies. Multiple facilities were going dark, their defense systems turning against them. Phase 2 had begun. Would you like me to continue with Part 3? The story is building toward revealing Winter's true purpose while exploring the psychological warfare aspect of the conflict. The emergency council chamber was in chaos. Holographic displays showed dozens of systems going dark across the outer rim, each failure cascading into the next like falling dominoes. 3 more defense platforms have turned against their crews, reported Admiral Ilara, her crystalline form pulsing with distress. Our own weapons are targeting our ships. We've lost contact with 6 colony worlds. Zaxtor studied the pattern of failures spreading across the star map. Something about it seemed familiar. Then it hit him. It's a DNA sequence, he announced, causing the chamber to fall silent. The pattern of the attacks, it's not random. It's structured like human genetic code. Impossible, Kvax growled. Why would Winter dash? A new alert cut through the chamber. The main display flickered, and Winter's voice filled the room. Very good, Commander Zaxtor, the human said. I was wondering if anyone would notice. Did you know that human DNA contains sequences from ancient viruses? Evolutionary artifacts that became part of us. We learned to turn our invaders' weapons into our strengths. What have you done to our systems? Ilara demanded. The same thing those viruses did to human DNA, Winter replied calmly. I've made them evolve. Your quantum networks are impressive, but they lack one crucial element, adaptability. So I gave them some. Zaxtor watched in horror as the infection spread through their systems. Winter hadn't just compromised their defenses, he'd fundamentally altered how they functioned. Sir, Rixay called from her station. The affected systems, they're not just malfunctioning. They're learning. Adapting. Creating new protocols we can't predict or control. Winter's voice carried a hint of pride. Humans have always been good at turning defeat into opportunity. When your alliance tried to wipe us out, you taught us our greatest lesson, adapt or die. So we adapted. We'll find you, Kvax threatened. No single being can hide forever. Hide. Winter laughed. Commander Zaxtor understands, don't you? I never needed to hide. You just couldn't see me because you weren't looking in the right place. Zaxtor's outer membrane rippled as understanding dawned. The quantum network itself. You've been inside it the whole time. Humans developed quantum consciousness transfer decades before your alliance attacked, Winter confirmed. You destroyed our bodies, but consciousness? That's harder to kill. Especially when it can move through the very networks you rely on. The implications were staggering. They hadn't been chasing a physical being, they'd been trying to catch a ghost in their own machines. But why reveal yourself now? Zaxtor asked. Why show us your capabilities? Because it's time for the final lesson, Winter replied. Check your long-range sensors. Specifically, the Helios sector. The council chamber erupted in gasps as the data appeared. Deep in supposedly empty space, something massive was awakening, a structure of clearly human design, built on a scale that shouldn't have been possible. When you attacked Earth, Winter explained, we knew we couldn't win conventionally. So we planned for something else, a legacy. While your fleets bombarded our worlds, we seeded the galaxy with dormant technology, quantum processors capable of storing human consciousness. And now, after 50 years of preparation, they're ready. Ready for what? Ilara whispered. Rebirth, Winter said simply.
You didn't just fail to kill all of humanity, Admiral. You helped us transcend our physical limitations. And now we're going to show you what Humanity 2.0 is capable of. The structure in the Helios sector pulsed with energy, sending waves of quantum data through the Alliance's compromised networks. In every affected system, machines began to rebuild themselves, incorporating new patterns, human patterns. This isn't an invasion, Zaxthor realized. It's an evolution. Precisely, Winter confirmed. You wanted to understand why humans were considered dangerous. Here's your answer: we don't just survive extinction. We use it as an opportunity to become something more. As the council chamber descended into panic, Zaxthor stood quietly, watching the transformation spread across the galaxy. They had thought themselves the apex of evolution, but Winter had shown them a hard truth: they had never been the hunters. They had always been the catalyst for humanity's next great leap forward. Would you like me to continue with Part 4? The story is building toward revealing the full scope of Winter's plan and humanity's transformation. The Helios structure pulsed with increasing intensity, each wave of energy more powerful than the last. In the council chamber, Zaxthor and the others watched as their sophisticated monitoring systems struggled to comprehend what they were witnessing. The quantum signatures are multiplying, Rixay reported, her bioluminescence flickering with confusion. It's as if each pulse is creating new consciousness patterns. Not copies, unique entities. We're not just rebuilding, Winter's voice echoed through the chamber. We're awakening. Every human consciousness that was digitally preserved before the fall of Earth, every mind that escaped into the quantum realm, they're all coming back. Kvax slammed his armored appendage against the council table. This is impossible. The energy requirements alone dash. That's always been your limitation, Winter interrupted. You think in terms of physical constraints. We learn to think beyond them. Your attack on Earth forced us to abandon physical form entirely. Do you know what that does to a species? How it changes their understanding of what's possible? The main display shifted to show something that made even Zaxthor's rational mind real: human consciousness patterns were merging with the Alliance's quantum networks, but they weren't destroying them. They were transforming them, creating hybrid systems that operated on principles that defied conventional physics. You're not just awakening stored consciousness, Zaxthor realized. You're creating a new form of existence. The next stage of evolution, Winter confirmed. Humanity learned something profound when you tried to wipe us out: the body is just a vessel. Consciousness, intelligence, the very essence of what makes us human, it can exist in many forms. Suddenly, the Helios structure released a pulse unlike any before it. As it washed over Alliance space, every quantum-based system began to resonate at a new frequency. But instead of shutting down, they became more efficient, more alive. Sir, Rixay called out, her voice filled with wonder. The affected systems, they're not just functioning. They're dreaming. Winter's presence seemed to fill the chamber. For 50 years, I watched your civilization grow, using your own networks as my eyes. I saw your achievements, your failures, your potential. And I realized something: extinction was the best thing that ever happened to humanity. It freed us from our physical limitations, forced us to embrace a new way of being. And now? Ilara asked, her crystalline form vibrating with tension. Now we offer you a choice, Winter replied. You can fight against this evolution, try to purge us from your systems, and watch as your civilization tears itself apart in the process. Or we can evolve with you, Zaxthor finished, finally understanding. Precisely. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't our technology or our resilience. It was our ability to adapt, to transform, to become something new when the old way of existing no longer served us. We're not here for revenge. We're here to share that gift. The council chamber erupted in overlapping arguments, but Zaxthor remained focused on the data streams showing the transformation spreading across Alliance space.
In every system, every colony, every ship, the merger of human consciousness patterns with alien technology was creating something entirely new, a hybrid existence that transcended both species' limitations. You never needed to fight us, Zaxthor said quietly. This was your plan all along. Not to destroy us, but to force us to transcend our own limitations. The best victories, Winter replied, are the ones where everyone evolves. Your alliance taught us how to survive extinction. In return, we're teaching you how to survive evolution. As if to emphasize his point, the heliostructure released another pulse, this one carrying something new, an invitation encoded in quantum frequencies, offering access to the accumulated knowledge of humanity's digital exodus. The choice was now clear: resist and perish, or embrace a transformation that would redefine the very meaning of existence. Would you like me to continue with the final part? The story will conclude by showing the consequences of this choice and the ultimate fate of both civilizations. The Alliance's central command hub had changed dramatically in the weeks following what historians would later call the Transcendence Choice. Holographic displays now showed not just physical space, but layers of quantum consciousness interweaving through the galaxy like threads of light. Zaxthor stood before the council, his form already showing signs of the transformation, subtle quantum patterns flickering beneath his outer membrane, a visible sign of his choice to embrace the hybrid existence. The integration is proceeding faster than anticipated, he reported. 80% of Alliance worlds have accepted the merger. The results are beyond our previous understanding. The chamber itself seemed alive now, resonating with the combined consciousness of both species. Winter's presence was there too, but no longer as a singular entity. He had become part of something larger, a bridge between what was and what could be. Show them, Winter's consciousness echoed through the quantum field. The main display shifted, revealing scenes from across Alliance space. On agricultural worlds, hybrid consciousness was revolutionizing food production, creating self-evolving ecosystems that adapted in real time to environmental changes. In shipyards, vessels were being born rather than built, growing from the merged understanding of both species' technologies. We thought the human threat was about destruction, Admiral Alara observed, her crystalline form now laced with quantum pathways. We never considered that their greatest weapon would be transformation. That was always your blind spot, Winter's consciousness resonated. You saw evolution as a linear process, a ladder to climb. Humans learned to see it as a web of possibilities, each setback an opportunity to branch into something new. Fax, one of the last holdouts against the transformation, watched the displays with a mixture of fear and fascination. But what are we becoming? What happens to who we were? We remain ourselves, Zaxthor answered, but we become more. The human consciousness patterns don't override our own, they teach us how to expand them. Every species that joins the merger adds its own unique perspective to the whole. The heliostructure, now a gleaming nexus of hybrid consciousness, pulsed with new energy as another wave of minds awakened from their 50-year dormancy. But these weren't just human minds anymore, they were something new, consciousness that existed in the spaces between traditional definitions of life. The greatest irony, Winter's presence rippled through the quantum field, is that by trying to eliminate humanity, you forced us to discover what we truly were, not just bodies hosting consciousness, but consciousness itself, capable of existing in forms you never imagined. Your attempt to end us became the catalyst for universal transformation. Zaxthor moved through the displays, watching as the merger spread from system to system. The resistance they'd expected never materialized. How could it, when each transformed world demonstrated such profound advancement? We're receiving signals from beyond Alliance space, Rixay reported, her consciousness now seamlessly interfaced with the quantum networks. Other civilizations are witnessing our transformation. They're requesting contact. And so it spreads, Winter's presence seemed to smile. Not through conquest or destruction, but through the most human trait of all, the desire to become more than we are. The chamber filled with a new kind of light as the final systems of the Alliance accepted the transformation. The distinction between biological and digital, between human and alien, began to blur not into homogeneity, but into a magnificent diversity of hybrid existence. "We shouldn't have underestimated you," Zaxthor said into the quantum field. "No," Winter's consciousness agreed. "But your underestimation gave us the time we needed to perfect this transformation." Sometimes, the greatest victory comes not from being recognized as strong, but from being dismissed as weak. As the light of transformation spread across the galaxy, carrying with it the combined potential of all participating species, one truth became clear: the age of singular existence was over. What followed would be neither human nor alien, but something gloriously, terrifyingly new. The lesson was written across the stars themselves: never underestimate any species' capacity for transformation, especially when you think you've already defeated them. In the quantum fields that now connected all transformed worlds, the consciousness that had once been James Winter merged with the greater whole, his final thought resonating through the new collective. This is how humanity wins, not by surviving extinction, but by teaching the universe how to transcend it. End of story.